John, do you have the wrong layout up?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Good catch.
Somebody's getting a raise.
Oh,
All
man,
right.
look at that.
Hey,
I'm not even
All
sitting in the right spot. There we are.
professional production.
Welcome back, everybody, to Dungeon Brew. This is the 7th episode of the Short Rest where me and the guys come together and we talk about the game that we just played last night. We went through our 7th episode of the 9th Ascension, and it was a little role play heavy with some different activities in it, considering we were following up from our 6th episode that was very combat heavy. So we changed it up a little bit last night, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. It was a little bit of a wild fair of several things all happening at once.
I guess first thing I'll bring up is for you, Josh. What the hell's the Archon thinking?
Yeah. Start with where it
Yeah.
started.
Start where it started. What the hell's the Archon doing?
Oh, we're talking about the Archon giving his
announcement.
presentation of announcing that they're going to start naming who is no longer welcome within the city.
Yeah.
So the primary thought behind that is that he believes that the reason that citizens were harmed and there was losses of life is because, as John kind of mentioned, there's still followers of Marhina within the town. And so it's allowing for essentially Volos' dragons and the Bukari to attack them because they're trying to eliminate those followers of Marhina. So he's like, if we can get rid of the people that are against our new god, maybe we will not have to suffer from these assaults any longer.
Makes perfect sense.
It's very much a strict theology. I mean, in terms of a theocracy of what they're following. So it's kind of going to the extreme in desperation.
Right. Interesting.
And it doesn't occur to him that it's just a really bad idea from like a defensive point of view. Like morale. I think Greg mentioned this. Like morale would I think would suffer greatly with that announcement.
You know, we've had a lot of stuff kind of being thrown about in the campaign, and I realize that in my role in us, we talked about this a little bit, and having the very structured 12 sessions, there's not as much freedom for you guys to kind of like roam about and do things.
Sure.
But there's been little conversations with like the members of the Ninth Council outside of the limited availability that I've given them to you during the course of it, as well as the Archon. I don't want to like give away a lot of different pieces of what's happening behind the scenes, but there is a definite influence from the Ninth Council on the Archon and the decisions that he's making.
Yeah, and that's obvious.
Yeah, I think that came through when we had when Greg and I were going through our meeting.
Our trial.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because I was really trying to like play to some of that a little bit, because we really haven't had a chance to explore that story. But not only has 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞 taken a very firm role in like commanding what's happening in the town, but the Archon's son is also on that council at a fairly high standing, who is also being influential in the decision making for the current imperial family.
So, not to get too far into the political structure or the governmental structure that exists within the city, what are the roles of the Archon, the Ninth Council, and the Carrion Council in terms of like what responsibilities do they have?
So the Carrion Council for a long time was aligned directly with the Archon. So you have the imperial family, and you essentially have like the legislative board, more or less. And now most power has been completely stripped from the Carrion Council. So the Ninth Council themselves now have more of the role of seeing laws being fulfilled and followed through with, and exacting the punishments for those laws, where the Archon or the imperial family are like the direct recipients of messages that come from the gods. And in this case, it would be Volos. So it would be, he is like chosen by the gods to lead. He has some decision-making in what the laws are, how they're influenced, what needs to be done. And the Ninth Council sees that that's actually being fulfilled and done throughout the city. What you guys saw is that the Ninth Council seems to have extended that step a little bit. So not only are they making sure that laws are being done, but they're also giving the Archon himself direction of what the gods want.
Has the Ninth Council and the Carrion Council always existed in tandem with one another, or is the Ninth Council a recent creation that then superseded the Carrion Council?
I would have to pull up the document to have the exact dates for you, but the Ninth Council themselves have only been around like 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
The Carrion Council has been there since the beginning of the recording of Stuhian history.
Yeah,
Okay.
so quick power play.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So before it was just the Carrion Council and the Archon, like running the city by themselves, and the Ninth Council quickly came in, made the right connections, bumped elbows, and have stripped the Carrion Council of power.
Well, I'd like to get more into the details of all of that, but I don't want this to end up too dry.
I already need a drink.
Should we talk about the ritual? Guess not.
If you guys would like to, I'd love to hear you guys talk more about some of the things that occurred. There's a
Well,
lot
it
that went
seemed
into
like there were
that.
some strong opinions about the ritual
Yeah.
that kind of split the party a bit early.
Yeah, your dad's kind of a dick.
Agreed.
So I think I was actually looking, like, as a player, I was looking for an opportunity for Dawn to participate in the ritual in the same way that Dorothy did, or
Yeah,
you know,
I was
Tyrion
too.
and Drast did. And he never really offered. It's like, hey, everybody, come to dinner, and then we just kind of watched him eat. And I was a little offended by that.
I feel like we did a little more than watched him eat, but it wasn't something we enjoyed. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those that don't know that are watching, Tyrion and Drast are out of John Amai's book Anarfell, the first book in the Blood of Dragons series, who went through the same ritual in the early parts of that book.
So, but yeah, he just was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. So because I cut the video together and I rewatched it, and at the time when we were playing, I actually thought that I was like, maybe Dorothy did tell us what he was going to do. He did not. Like, I specifically, like, Dawn specifically asked him, said, what are we doing? What do you need us for? And he basically said to come skin the dragon.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. So then we got there, and Dawn, he was like, okay, we have to prepare it, or we had to prepare the body to skin it. So Dawn went and cut off the testicles, because he's like, I don't know the process for skinning a dragon. Sure. But by that point, everybody started to, like, zone in and out, and so Dawn kind of stuck around, but he did not really participate, I don't think, from that point forward, ever voluntarily.
No, I don't think he did voluntarily. I think everyone else, even including Eretmir, allowed Marhina to speak through him at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And
I let it happen once.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Which definitely makes sense. I mean, obviously 𝐸 would be, considered a good thing. But yeah, Dawn was angry.
It seemed like it.
well, and I would say from Erdemir's point of view, like he had to pull this dragon in, and then he's sitting there watching you guys all do stuff. I think the only thing he did, I cut off the head at one point because I was under control or something. And then I let Marhine pass through me and said drink. But he's watching all this stuff like, what the heck? And then to see all you guys get upset, he's like, what did I miss? He's like, I don't know what's going on here. And so it's to me, it was very strange for him. Like, now people are ticked. I thought I don't know what's going on.
The funny thing is Eretmir, I think, saw more of the ritual than anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you saw more of what actually happened than anyone else that was participating besides Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I have a question about that. And it's probably just an oversight. But aren't the Ispalini immune to charm? And doesn't possession fall under, like, the charm enchantment thing?
Yeah, it probably would. That's a really good point, Greg. Good call.
I saw it all then.
Yep.
You people are crazy.
You have the divine intervention, which might be a bit different there, but that's just something that occurred to me as he was talking.
Definitely an oversight from the GM point of view. Yeah, I am sure that I could probably weasel around and be like, oh, no. But no, I completely didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those random things that doesn't really come up, and when it does, no one thinks about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I will say that I was challenged in how I wanted to present that ritual, because I thought about like taking you guys as character sheets and only having like your names as your own language and then just sharing information through the chat. But since we're recording, I also wanted to make sure that everyone else was aware of what was happening through the course of it, just for the sense of gameplay. So I appreciate you guys playing along with it in the way that it was presented.
Yeah.
Yeah. From 𝐸𝐸₁'s perspective, 𝐸𝐸₁ really didn't have an issue with it until the very end, when I guess the rewards of said ritual came to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody bestowing sacred magic on themselves, from my understanding, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understood, was never done, completely unheard of, and from our societal standpoint, it would probably be sacrilegious almost.
Yeah.
You're born with it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. This is actually something that's referenced in Maharia, where if you read the Kalendar series, Dwarfe talks about how he got the ability to cast sacred magic along with void magic, and he talks about how he slaughtered 𝐸𝐲. So he takes credit for killing the dragon itself. But gold dragons are what hold sacred magic within their blood. So he specifically used the gold dragon in order to acquire that through this particular entity. If it had been a different dragon, there'd been something else that would have been attached to it. So this magic that he used was forbidden. Like it's a dark magic that he utilized that most of the 𝐯𝐢𝐤𝐈𝑁 culture wouldn't even be aware of. I mean, even Don's mom has no idea what was done or how it was done. She'd never heard of it before.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and I think from 𝐸𝐸₁'s perspective, that's like, especially with the Carrion Council, that's like final nail in the coffin. Like he's doing it for the book, and
Mm-hmm.
the possibility of that record, but after that, I see no, at least the way I view the character, there's no coming back from that one. At least not for him. If the rest of the council had no idea, claims they have no idea if he believes him, maybe a different story. But
would 𝐸𝐸₁ believe them at this point?
probably not. I mean, honestly, probably not.
I mean, they've been pretty vague with us up to this point.
Yeah. He's not had. I mean, he has a relationship with his mom's, but it's not a.
That seems to be getting a bit tense.
It's not
as
a
the
it's not
game's progressed.
a great one, I don't think. But yeah, I don't know.
I will say it's a bit. I hope that I haven't overflowed the picture too much in coming into the second half of our gaming experience, because I did want to like set up the tone immediately to make it a little bittersweet, which kind of challenges you as characters to maintain like the pace and to do the things you need to do now that you have like this kind of different lens that you're looking through for what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and no, I don't believe so. Like I said, the character's perspective is shift, but the end goal is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's more desperation though at this stage.
I would agree
right.
with that.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of taking their own steps to make sure that they survive the fallout of what's going on.
Yeah. So it's gone from the first half where there was, we're working together, we're working towards a common goal, and there's that kind of camaraderie. And the fallout now is that there's definitely more individual desperation trying to reach those goals. So I think I think at this point it's probably a little bit difficult to say. I would say 𝐸𝐸₁ and Dawn, after their trial together and then like having their conversation afterwards where 𝐸𝐸₁ offered to look after Dawn's daughter, that there's probably still that camaraderie. But I also don't know where Dawn stands with the other two, considering he walked out of the ritual. And so he's not really sure how they felt about him basically saying, listen, I'm done, and just leaving them to deal with whatever else was going on in there. So,
yeah.
I would say from 𝐸𝐸₁'s perspective, he only feels loyalty right now to the people he's with his party, because to him, you guys have all been basically battled together. You've protected him, and he's protected you. So to me, that seems like that's a stronger bond than, oh, we're allies with you because I'm watching as the city is shifting gods and they're throwing out the people that believe in the gods that we believe in. So to a certain extent, how long until you don't need the Ispalini and you're ready to throw them out? So there he's seeing that. He does not like he did not like that he was approached by the council to figure out if their sons are traitors. Because that was just to him, it was bizarre that you send them on this important quest, but we can't trust them. Like that just seems strange. And then to put him in the spot of trying to rat them out, like so, he has nothing. I feel like loyalty to anyone else, and that was the other point of even later on, him saying if he had to be here because he wanted to voice that if he didn't have to, that he was standing by Mihail through his own volition and not because he had to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I am curious if you can share a little bit from Eretmir's point of view, because he was brought into Leerheim by the Carrion Council as an emissary because of his relation to the council that exists back on Tundra S'more, primarily being there to secure their future or their belief in Marhina and to have some sort of ties back into the city in some way. So I'm curious about how your loyalty has fallen into your comrades, of course, in a D&D setting, as opposed to the people that are allied with your parents that you were brought in to work with essentially as their employer.
Well, I feel like he's still fulfilling that because at this point we are still going on these quests to fulfill the book. Like he is still fulfilling that. Mm-hmm. But I think what he is seeing is he feels there's more to mistrust from the council and how they're acting from the Carrion Council. And he's also seeing the problems with the Ninth because on one hand, it's all about securing their place, but they're not really securing their place. They're abdicating it and they're about to be vanquished. So it doesn't make much sense of what he can do as far as the future for Leerheim, other than, well, I guess if you're banished and you make another colony, we'll probably be friends with you.
Which doesn't seem to be what they're after at all. So, because, 𝐸'Con's moms are basically saying, oh, you need to voice your support of Volos so that you can stay in the city. And that seems to be the mentality of many of the members of basically saying, okay, well, push comes to shove, we're just going to fall over. And that was well, that was kind of Dawn's perspective at the outset, was basically saying, the tides are turning, what are you doing to, stop them? And they're like, oh, well, we're creating this book. And it's like, well, that's not changing the tides. So Dawn has always been interested in creating himself a life raft because he knows that he can't change the tides, but at least he can, get away if he can.
Right.
So. And Dawn's mother seems to be the only one that's on board with that life raft. Like everybody else is that I know of, right? That we've talked to, I guess.
Yeah.
The only perspective we have is my mom and his dad. So.
Well, by necessity, I don't know that she necessarily would be if it weren't for her also being a profane user. I think that
That's true.
I think that from
That
a
is
character perspective, she would probably fold if it weren't for that.
True.
So I am curious because your mom's gotten a lot of shit, or Dawn's mom has gotten a lot of shit. Did this interaction change that perspective a little bit that you had with her in this last session?
I feel like there probably was more bonding than has occurred up to this point in the campaign. He believes that she will do what she can to keep Need safe, and that's really all that he cares about. He still has a fairly low opinion of her, and even at the time, we didn't take the time to discuss it, just because I didn't feel like I wanted to go on another tangent there. But every time that I talk to her, she's like, "Oh, I lost your father," and it's like, well, I lost my father too. Like, that's the thing that always frustrates me about her, is she's always about me. And in terms of her talking about herself and her losses, and she doesn't consider what other people have lost that have lost the same things.
That's where Dawn gets it from.
Dawn, Have you considered therapy? I think you might. You could really benefit from that. I feel like you have mother issues.
Some things you need to work out.
Yeah.
I do have to say, and I don't want to push any button specifically, but it has been interesting to me that 𝐿𝐼 immediately threw out the idea that any of you three are the person that's betraying within the council, even when he's standing in front of you guys, watching you guys do things adversely towards the council, even to the point of standing with 𝐸𝐸 in front of the trials and 𝐸𝐸 saying, "I'll do whatever you want." And 𝐿𝐼 is just like, these guys are all good guys. Like none of them are doing
I
what the
did
council.
not say I will do whatever they want. And 𝐿𝐼 was in the barn when Dorothy told me to do what I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically asked about Lolos. So he knows what's going on there.
I feel like
good defense, Greg. Good defense.
Well, and I will say that one of the things I think is interesting is that since 𝐿𝐼's been here, it's been about bending the rules and not really following. I mean, he was brought here in secret because essentially they're bending the rules, trying to make this book against the city's agreement. He has been fulfilling what the council wants, and yet he's watching, and to him, the obvious place where there would be a traitor is on the council, not in anyone that he's working with, because they're finding out information on the spot, and it seems like things are more well planned. And so he has. It's also like what 𝐸𝐸 said, that there had been plenty of time for one of us to try to turn the tails or do something to make the others have an outcome that would be disastrous, and yet we've all worked together to achieve the goals of the committee, risking our lives. And so it's harder for him to accept that they are putting all this out there and recognizing that we are not selfless people. We are about promoting ourselves and keeping our with our alignment, or just kind of where we're at. So to me, risking our lives and doing something means that something is more important than just we're willy-nilly doing good things for the good of it. So I feel like for him, he has seen the politics here, and he's dubious of the politics in general, but he still feels like he is fulfilling his mission of completing this book as he's been asked by the council. And I just, yes, I've seen people change, but I've also seen the Carrion Council doing the same thing. They're not standing up to the Ninth Council. They're not, doing anything to try to change their fate. And now he's watching them all seem to be like, it seems like we're all caving under all these commands. And so I don't know that he sees a difference in their actions and that he's taking a side either way.
It's a good explanation. I just wanted to kind of hear. I wanted to hear the explanation from his point of view, because there's so much, I think, going on from the outside from what he's seeing. And while I think that the other three members can find like their reason for sticking it through and doing it, it's impressive to see the 𝐿𝐼, the stranger, still kind of going through the motions. Like he's had to go on these quests to do certain things. He's been questioned. He's been fighting in their battles. He's been defending their city. Knowing that his days are numbered being in the city himself, and he's still continuing to go through with it.
Not to mention that he keeps getting treated like a porter. Go drag this dragon there. Go pick this up. Go grab that.
We know you almost died in this battle. Here's some bandages. And they quit serving the fish and sausage gravy. No, I think that I know. I think the other part of this though is he is not just doing this though for them. He still is doing it for his people, and spending more time there to learn what's happening so he can give a better accurate report to his parents. Because it's one thing for them to hear from the Carrion Council what's going on, but it's another thing for him to give his own take what the thing is. And I mean, if it's about us making a buck, understanding what the needs are going to be for them, because if they're going to be a trading partner, we'll go where we need to.
Yeah, especially when it comes to their alliances, because they're supposed to be allied with 𝐿𝐼, but they're making these major overt decisions to ally with the Vucari. And it's like, so are you throwing away your alliance with the 𝐿𝐼? They're like, oh no, we're still allies, but we're still going to change who we worship and everything about our entire society and our way of life in order to be able to do this other thing. And that's what's also very confusing to me is how they still see themselves as allies to the �奧， who are giving them weapons and have been staunch allies for a long period of time in favor of somebody who's basically been at war with them the entire time. It just makes no sense to me.
I think the other thing I'd ask is how many like �奧are there?
It's comparable to the number of 𝐸𝐻𝑖ans, so you're gonna have like 500 or 600. Yeah.
So my thought, even behind this, is like by the time I leave, I mean their population might be down to only 100 people left in town, and I might just go back. Let's just take them over and be done with this.
Move in.
Yeah. Let's expand our territory. These people are idiots.
No, we can't overthrow the government. Josh already made that clear.
I'm saying after my day's done and I go home. and this is how we're going to do it. We're all going to dress like dragons. And we're going to pretend like we're flying in, not harm anyone until we're in the city, and then we just start slaughtering them. And then it's too late.
I love it. The Trojan horse method. But there is �奧dressed as dragons.
�奧dragon, of course.
So shifting conversation a little bit, how do you guys feel about the trials?
I think Dawn and 𝐸 trial was. The questions were good. I enjoyed the trial. I felt like it had nothing to do with what we were being questioned, like why we were there.
Yeah, I know we talked probably about this a little bit off camera, but the idea was that you guys were actually still being asked questions, much like we saw in the trial with 𝐿 and the Hail. But I didn't want to have our game showing up and just asking you guys all the same questions twice repeatedly, because that would have been really boring. So it was questions that they would ask you in between the other ones, and then they were looking for changes in what you were doing. Like, could you maintain your train of thought while they were trying to confuse you with other questions? Which I did not explain that well during the course of the game, but that was the idea in my head.
That was the impression I got for what was going to happen, but then since it didn't happen during the actual gameplay, I was a little bit confused too.
I was upset Karina wasn't there.
Yeah, of course.
But
no, I got to see your hot-headed girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should call her cold-headed.
She's a peach.
Pretty cold as ice.
No, she was pissed by the end of the trial.
Yeah, but she was giving you ice glares like.
I did enjoy the fact that
she didn't want 𝐸𝐻 to die.
You were mouthy.
I mean, we were too.
I think we all were.
He didn't take me up for a drink at the tavern afterward. I was upset.
You just said something, Greg, and I just want you to repeat it. I'm not going to comment on it, but I want to make sure that it comes through on the audio. You were very surprised. Or you would be surprised if she didn't want...
Oh, I would be surprised if she didn't want 𝐸𝐻 to die.
Yeah,
because every time I mention that, Josh specifically inserted that she looked angry.
Well, and it was I think it was I said it first when I started, because she cut me off or cut the Archon off. But every time we brought it, and that was one thing that 𝐿 noticed. It's like, man, that was your own brother.
So
I
don't
think she'd be a little bit more gracious about it.
Yeah, I don't remember the nuances of this, but was she having an affair with the guy who was trying to kill 𝐸𝐻? Is that what we figured out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which we didn't even bring up.
You didn't bring that up. No.
Crap.
Well,
you and I weren't there, so it's not our fault.
True.
And
somebody's
I feel like
to write a note to the Archon.
we'll get all of our.
Didn't we have another campaign where we kept writing notes and that came to haunt us?
It'll be fine, I'm sure.
Thank God,
actually,
this 12-year-old has come to save us. Oh, he's dead.
What?
Konabar died.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, no, that was something that was interesting. And I think the other thing is when she cut off the Archon and the Archon allowed it. Like, that was something surprising. That was...
Like, I felt obligated to ask her who was in charge. Because I thought the Archon was supposed to be the one that had the final say on all that.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be.
Which, and she just kind of talked over the Archon and, tried to ignore him, and it seemed like a weird dynamic.
But then you also had Jareth, or Jaren, whatever.
Jenerim?
Jeranim.
Jeranim. So you had Jeranim.
It's like a synonym, but it's not.
It is.
But then you had him kind of being supportive and seeming to want to be on the opposite side of her. Yeah. And that was, I mean, I don't know that Erdemir would have picked up on that, but I mean, he did seem more favorable and less hostile towards him. And so that was interesting, though.
He was a childhood friend to the three Stygians. Mm-hmm. So, like, we're not exactly hostile with him specifically.
But he's on the Ninth Council, and he is typically been almost helping, even though he's on there. Like, he's been supportive, or he's been able to give us information or whatever. And so that's interesting to see that he's not completely hostile.
See, to me, it seems like he's more of like more timid. He's just going where he thinks the ship is turning.
Yeah, but the ship is turning away from you. So him being on your side or trying to help you, or even giving you advice, want to
create that conflict or that schism with us in case it doesn't go right. You know, like he's hedging his bets, is what it seems like.
Yeah. I feel like there's more to that relation. Like, I just feel like he might be hedging his bets, but to me that seems like that means an opening or something there. That, because to me, him just going where the power is, and it seems like the power is with Karina, and that's where the power is, because she could even cut off the Archon. So to me,
isn't his mother on the Carrion Council as
well?
well?
Yeah, Serena. Yep.
Yeah, Serena was also the one that launched the Inquisition, wasn't she?
She's what?
She's one of the ones that went to Erdemir about figuring out who was. Yeah,
but so did your mom, right?
It was Serena that pushed you for it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, there was several other parents,
there were several there, but it was Serena that led the conversation with you.
Yeah, and Serena
is Serena the mole?
That's what I said. Like, I think I said that a couple of weeks ago. I think that she is.
Yeah.
I think that she's the one that's the spy.
Yeah.
That's a connection I hadn't really thought of.
Yeah.
I don't want to comment on anything, but I can say that our 12th session of the short rest is going to be amazing, as you guys are putting together all these different, like, there's a lot of validation in hearing you guys talk about these, as I've dropped clues multiple times throughout the campaign, and you guys are starting to connect all the dots of the things I've done very specifically in the dialogue and the body language and the conversations to start hinting towards stuff that's all coming to an end.
Yeah, it's Dawn. All the time.
No, that's actually, in the next book.
It's Need. Need is the mole. She's just, every time he sends her, into the council to stay with his mom, that's why he's mad when she's not with the council. It's all coming together.
Look,
she's always she's in the corner during every important conversation.
Meeting with the Ninth.
Erdemir hasn't revealed this, but his true mother is Stygian, and he's going to challenge the Imperial line and become the Archon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
My money's on Erdemir.
I probably couldn't hit the Archon with my axe, so it wouldn't matter.
Oh, he's an old man.
Probably not.
I don't think I could hit. No, I did hit the poison dragon, so I might be able to. Yeah.
So
we can poison him.
This has been actually a rather serious conversation. This whole, like, it's crazy to me how somber it's been. What are we doing next week? What is on the agenda next week?
I know that you guys have some character stuff you're doing. Like, I know that Greg had said how Mihail needs to go and have conversations about the defenses and future things with the Vukari. But next week, you guys are penciled in to go find the red dragon and kill it in order to gain its claw. So that is where the Ninth Council will be directing you. I'm sorry, the Carrion Council will be directing you at the beginning of next week, is to go hunt down the red dragon and kill it.
And you think we're capable of that?
I don't know.
A question: when we were fighting that thing, we didn't happen to cut off one of its claws. Like,
this won't be the same red dragon. It'll be
but if their claw fell in the red claw of a red dragon, like,
see, that's the issue with the Carrion Council keeping us at such a remove. If we had known we needed a red claw, we could have taken that in the battle, and we'd have 2 steps done.
But then we'd be playing 10 sessions instead of 12.
I'm just saying, the Carrion Council is being very inefficient about all this.
They are. Yep.
Damn
But yeah,
council.
next week should be more balanced of some combat, but also some social stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
I know we went through a lot of social stuff this week, but
It was
there's
good.
a lot-
I
there's a-
enjoyed it.
I don't
a lot of
mind.
catch
It
up
was
we
a
did.
very intense session this week.
It was
Like
yeah.
John said, we were real somber, and I feel like that's the tone of the actual game session.
It was
Yeah,
a banger of an episode, as the kids say.
I don't
Yeah.
know what that means.
If you say
mean-
so.
and Erdemir, treating his body like a temple. I mean, he did fail
Oh
on
my
his
God.
pecs, so that was
freaking great.
a little disappointing.
Well, kudos at least you guys on your trials. I mean, John and Jason, you guys did great with the Battle of Wits and the Battle of Paradoxes. Both Todd
That was
and
good.
Greg did great with answering the questions somewhat vaguely and still making their roles and making it through, the full question to gain kind of a pass and keeping things concealed. So I was very impressed with the roles and how you guys handled all of that.
I love the
Yeah.
vagueness of their responses. It just
Oh, it was
cracks
so
my
good.
shit up.
I can
Where's the
honestly
body?
say that I
Somewhere.
did not lie at one point in that trial.
Just by
Nothing I said
omission.
was a lie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, the vagary of the responses just it made me so happy.
I
Yeah.
thought it went rather well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It just left a very furious Karina Kluk.
sorry.
I'm okay with that. Sorry,
Sorry.
Sir Khan.
Yeah, your chances with her.
I mean,
Well, I don't know. Maybe
realistically,
though, she likes to be in angry relationships. I don't know.
yeah. One of those love-hate type things. where
yeah.
it's like,
Sircon's a good-looking guy, so you never know.
well,
And
Is
if
he-
you would
aged a
have a
little bit.
baby,
Last week.
well,
Hey,
yeah.
Silver
I guess
Fox.
that's what I was gonna say. Not that old. He's a silver fox.
How's your charisma stat?
It's pretty good, actually. I don't know what it is right now because I'm not in game, but it's pretty good.
like I think his charisma has been
14.
going up. Yeah.
That's
That'll
true.
That'll be your last play in the 12th session is making a baby and dying. Like you'll use your final breath. Your final breath to forge a baby.
Worth it.
All right. You have until then to seduce Karina. Good luck.
Better she's gonna shiv me.
Shave you?
Shiv me.
Oh, shiv.
Yes.
Well, but she'll probably shave him before she shivs him.
He'll be an old guy by then.
There'll be
She
some
has-
kinky stuff going on. That's all
She-
I know.
She has standards.
She doesn't like hairy backs.
Ouch.
All right. Well, that has been our episode of The Short Rest. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Danger Brew, Dungeon Brew. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and we'll see you all again next time. So, welcome everybody. Let's get to it. I'm hearing a lot of dinging, like people are logging in and out. So, welcome everybody to. I think I already did that. Whatever. You guys, somebody fucking take it. Do I need to start all over? What's happening?
You might have to, or I have to bleep you out because
Yeah.
if you cuss too early, it's gonna ruin the algorithm.
Fuckity fuck. I
Did you guys clap, by the way?
Yeah,
We did.
They did the
early.
clapping.
I just hear
Okay.
somebody like turning on your stream, so it's going.
It's because when he switched scenes on the stream, it caused Discord to have a malfunction.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Are we
Well-
good?
About as good as we're gonna get.
I just want to make one statement. Did we ever get the clap in?
Yeah.
We
We
did?
did.
Okay. I
Yeah.
missed it. Okay.
We even had the question about whether or not the clap got worked in.
Okay.
True.
Sorry.